Welcome back to another edition of Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. As you can see here, I have my next project, which is the Eduard Bf109 E4 Prophy Pack Edition in 1/48 scale. Been wanting to do this particular aircraft and this particular brand with a certain marking scheme, and this provides everything that I want. So I'm going to do a quick look through the box. I haven't seen too many video reviews on this model, so I'm going to kind of give it the works. I'm going to do a review of the contents of the box, but yet try not to spend too much time on it. So kit number 8263, and it's pretty much, you know, the same all the way around. This side has the different markings that you can apply. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open and see what's inside. And as you can see, I've already taken everything out of the plastic. That way I'm not fumbling around with it. The decals, they come in a plastic bag, but I've already taken them out just for ease of showing off for the video. The mask set, Photo-etch, and the clear parts. And the plastic, which also comes in a bag, but I've already taken it out, and the instructions. So let's take a look first at the instructions. One thing I really like about the Eduard kits, and my son had already built one Eduard kit, is their instructions. It's like a magazine, nice glossy paper, magazine style, very nice. Gives, you know, typical, gives the information on the aircraft itself. Then you have the parts breakdown. Blue being parts that aren't going to be used since they're for other versions or whatever, and commonality between kits. The color call-outs for Aqueous and Mr. Color paints. I'm going to be using Tamiya paints, and they don't have, Tamiya doesn't have many direct color matches for the RLM colors, but I have a nice mixing chart that I found online. That's supposed to be really good, and I found it in a couple of different places, so I'll be able to mix the colors I need. So as for the instructions themselves, typical instructions. Red is where, like in this case here, it's a part on the side that's plastic, and if you're going to use the photo etch, you would cut that off to put the photo etch. Down here, same thing. Red is the kit part in styrene, and then the photo etch parts. So pretty straightforward, nice detail. I'll go over the photo etch here in a little bit. Gives you two different ways to do the instrument panel. You can either do it with the kit parts with decals, you know, and raised detail, or you can do with a kit part and the photo etch. So I'm not going to go, like I said, I'm not going to go into real detail on this, but I do want to mention a few things. Now, in some of the reviews that I've read about this kit, there have been some people that have had no problems at all, and others that have had problems with the nose of the aircraft, having to do with the engine and the cowling and panels that cover the engine portion of the fuselage. Now, I think that some of those problems may be either people have missed things in the instructions or forgotten things or whatever, but it clearly states here, for closed engine and gun cowling, go to page 10. I'll do that in a minute. And it says, do not use the following parts. There's 13 parts on this engine that you don't use. This top plate, some of the detail parts, you don't use those. And I think what's happening is people are putting on some of those parts, and then whenever they're going to close the thing up, the cowling won't fit because it's too thick to accommodate the parts on the inside. So if you wanted to do the engine, and the engine looks very nice, by the way, from what I've seen, and just with some simple wiring and stuff like that, you could get a really nice, say, maintenance scene or something like that. But it's an either or deal. It's either you have the canopy off and show the engine, or not canopy, cowling, or you have it on and don't show the engine. It's like, it's either or. It's like you don't have an option. So I'll get back to that as I get further along. Another part of the instructions that discuss this is open nose. If you're doing the open nose version with the cowling off, you do this detailed gun bay area with the full guns and all of that stuff. If you don't, again, you would, things are a little bit different, but that's later on. So going on through the instructions, pretty straightforward, putting everything together, looking good. Now, one detail that I will remark here in a little bit is on the tail wheel and how it compares with reality. But I'll get to that in a minute. Movable control surfaces on the wings. Slats can be either assembled in the closed or deployed position. Same with the tail planes, the stabilizers. They can be set in any position you want, so show it sitting on the ground or maybe even ready for taxi, whatever. Same with the rudder. More stuff, more stuff, more stuff. Okay, so here is page 9. Shows the engine cowlings and stuff. For closed nose, see page 10. So again, it reminds you, you have to do something in order for these covers and panels to fit properly. There are different options for the canopy, which I'll talk about when we're looking at the parts. There's one particular aircraft that uses a solid spinner as opposed to the open spinner with the cannon. So it's just stuff you have to pay attention to. Now here's page 10, and what it shows is the non-detailed engine, you know, without the extra parts on top. And it also shows the top of the gun area as well. So the two things that you have to do in order to make this stuff fit correctly is you have to shave off a bit of the front of the engine to accommodate the curvature of the cowling. You also have to cut off these two tabs here, which hold the machine guns if you have it in the open position. So you cut those off and you only end up with just the tips of the barrels sticking through the cowling, because all this is going to be covered up. And then at the bottom it shows you the how to apply your masks on the windscreen, the cowling, or the canopy, and then the portion of the canopy behind the pilot's head. Then you get to these nice color illustrations, all color coded out, of the different aircraft that one can model. You have Fritz Beek, or Fritz Bake, France, 1940. Then you have Helmut Wick, Beaumont, France, November 1940. You have Joseph Eberle, Netherlands, August 1940. Franz von Vera, France, September 1940. And then Adolf Galland. Adolf Galland is one of the ones that you see a lot. Very popular subject due to his, you know, record and surviving the war and everything else. But the scheme I'm going with is this one here, Franz von Vera. And the reason I'm going with him, a lot of people do his too, but because he's quite a unique character in Luftwaffe history. He was the only German to escape from Britain and get back to Germany to fight. I was going to talk a little bit about his escapades, but I decided not to. It just takes too much time in this review. But I may talk about it a little more later. But he's got quite a story, and there is a book and a 1956 film, I believe, or 57 film called "The One That Got Away," and it tells the story about what happened with him and his escape attempts, and eventually his ultimate escape from British captivity. Really interesting story. You can look it up on Wikipedia or whatever. You can look it up all over the place. And, you know, you should read it. It's interesting. There are, you know, controversy about the amount of kills he actually had and, you know, all these other things. But it's a very interesting story. He's a unique character, and that's why I decided to do this aircraft. And there's things about the paint that I like that I will talk about once I get to the painting portion of it. But pretty much that's it for the instructions. So let us take a look at the contents of the box. Let's look at the decals first. There's a small decal sheet with markings common for all of the 109s in this series. Stencils, do not walk here lines, stuff like that. So there's that. The decals look good. The carrier film is very, very thin. So after applying them and then putting a clear coat over it, should level that out pretty good. So nice decals there. And then of course you have the decals for the individual aircraft, for all the different aircraft. And again, these are really nice. And then here are the decals for if you were to say build a weekend edition, which doesn't have the photo etch. These, or if you just opted to do this instead, these go right on the instrument panels themselves, and they look really good. They just don't have any three-dimensional aspect to them. They're just, you know, they're flat, but they do look really good. Everything is in register. Everything's lined up great. Just looks really nice. And since this is an American, a U.S. version of this kit, you get the full swastikas without them being chopped off and having to use the two-piece swastikas. So there's that. So then you have the masks. Can't really tell a whole lot because they're on the tape, but these should be nice for masking off the canopy. The clear parts, very nice. Since they're flat, there's no curved stuff. You don't have to worry about distortion that much. They look good. I'm probably going to do mine in an open. I'm going to do it open so you can see the interior of the aircraft. The gun sight looks nicely molded. Sometimes you get some of these little clear gun sights. They look horrible because there's usually a seam line running right up the middle of it, but this one's not. This one's molded pretty nicely. So that's the clear parts. And then we have the photo etch, which I didn't take out of the bag, so I kind of wanted to protect the finish on them because some of it is painted, and this is why I take stuff out of the bags before videos, because it's hard for me to get a grip. Okay, so first we have this part here. Make sure it's lined up. You zoom in just a little bit so you can see what's up. Okay, so you have the grills for the radiators, very small chains and sprockets for the flaps that go on the interior of the cockpit, the antenna, two-piece antenna, so I guess you can glue them together, I'm thinking, to add a little more thickness to it, front of the wing, and then these very nicely done rudder pedals. And then there's a few other parts that I'm not sure what they are until I actually start building it, but it's some nice stuff. Looks really good. And then we have the instrument panels, This one goes on top of that. So this is all nice and three-dimensional, and the gauges themselves, like on this part here, they're color-coded. It is stuff that I would never be able to do with a paintbrush. It's just too tiny. And the fact that this fits on top of the part with the gauges gives that three-dimensional effect. Even though this really small stuff, it still looks really good. And then everything else is all colored as well. You know, the levers, throttle levers and stuff like that. And then more parts. I'm not sure what they are until I actually get building. And then the seat belts. And the seat belts look really good. They're pre-painted and they're ready to go. So those will look really nice once installed. So those are the Photo-etch parts. As far as the plastic goes, we've got the wings, very nicely molded, no weird things going on. Looks really good. And one thing that's really nice is, you know, obviously because it's plastic, the thickness of the wing material is much thicker than it would be in on a real aircraft. But what they've done is beveled these edges around the wheel wells to give it like a scale thickness appearance. So that's kind of a nice touch. Some people like to do that on kits to make it look better, like on fenders, wingtips, stuff like that. But don't have to do it, it's already done. So it looks really good. Nice touch. Excuse me. Then we have the fuselage and the cowling covers on the engine. No, it's not cowling. Here's the cowling here. That's the gun cover, I believe. All looks really good. Nicely done. And no weird flash, no weird stuff going on at all. Just all looks really good. And then we've got these parts here. The spin. Oh man. Sorry for all that non-zoom business. So these are the parts, sorry. The fuselage and the wings. Hopefully you're able to see when I was talking earlier. I'll just flip it over. The beveled edge, like I was talking about, to give it a scale thickness. Looks really good. Back to this one. Propeller has good detail. That's my dog barking, don't worry about it. She's playing.
Your daughter's dog?
My daughter's dog, sorry.
Devil.
Dog.
Ah. Go away, go.
These are the detail inside of here is really nice. Sometimes on these, you know, whenever you have a spinner going over top, it's just like really plain. It looks kind of dumb, but the detail on this is really nice, so you can even model it without the spinner on it. So that's kind of nice. Whoops. Okay, what else we got? The engine, as I said, the engine looks really good, and with a little bit of wiring and stuff, if you had it open, it would look very nice. The seat looks good. There's supposed to be a slot right here on the seat where the seat belts come through on the real aircraft, and there's like a little demarcation there, which would give the appearance of that. I might be able to cut that out for the seat belts, but we'll see if I need to. The instrument panels I was talking about, here's the plane for the decal version, and then here's one that you can actually paint or put the decals over and use solve set or something, and this one the Photo-etch would go on. Just a lot of nice parts, very small, very finely molded and detailed. They just look really good. And then we have the control surfaces for the wings, the tail planes, the rudder. On the landing gear, I'm probably going to add some brake lines just for a little bit of extra detail. The tail wheel looks good, so never mind what I was going to say earlier. That's nice. Now here's something that's nice and you don't see often. These are the gear doors, gear bay doors, and very nicely done, rivet detail and everything. Inside is very nicely done. What you run into a lot of times on these gear bay doors is there will be ejector pin marks in here that you have to fill. There are none on here. All the ejector pins are on the outside edge. The wheels look good. I'll probably flatten one edge to give it just a little bit of weight on them. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That is the plastic and all the rest of the contents for the Bf109E4. So that's pretty much it for the review of the box contents. So what I'll do is I'll start putting this together, and I'll just be doing a video soon, and I'll probably do it page by page like I've done in the past, and try and do it in some kind of order so people know what I'm doing. So if anybody needs, you know, reference, if they're putting one together, they'll be able to do it. So anyway, that's it for now from Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Questions, comments below, etc. And I'll see you all next time.